Oh, yeah, we've got a good question to start off. I mean, it is unfortunate, but I think it's a great thing to ask. It's from JL. It says, I just got laid off. What's next? How does the financial order of operations change based on getting laid off with severance and then not knowing what's next? What kind of thoughts do you have for him?
Well, it's interesting, JL. Obviously, getting laid off is awful. It stinks. It is one of those unknown unknowns that we don't always think is going to happen. And we'll talk to some like the things that you need to think through. Maybe I'll hit on that. But one of the things I think is interesting, and I actually learned this from you, Brian, is there are a number of experiences I know in your life of folks who getting laid off or losing their job was actually that spark that propelled them into the next thing. It was while it was a less than ideal circumstance, they were able to kind of tweak that voice in their head to say, okay, this is not going to be like a defeated moment. This is going to be a moment where I'm going to use this to move in a different direction and to do something that maybe I would not have done otherwise. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how you've seen that play out practically with folks that you know.
Yeah, I think it is important to understand that good can grow from bad, but that doesn't mean that it's easy.
No, it's still
necessarily. I always think about there are seasons of life where, when the good stuff, we like to celebrate the good stuff, like you get a promotion, other things that you'll accelerate where you are in the financial order of operations. But then there's going to be other things that happen, like a layoff, to where you need to kind of batten down the hatches, make sure you're protected. And that's why, a lot of people they think the financial order of operations is just you get through step 1, you go to step 2, 3, 4, and it's going to be a smooth walk up the steps all the way through step 9. But that's just not the reality.
That's right.
There's an ebb and flow that life is going to come at you, but the system is going to be there, and it's going to carry you through this moment of really questioning what's the next thing. And that's why I would encourage you're going to lean heavily on your emergency reserves.
Yeah, hopefully you've been following the financial order of operations and you have an emergency fund, because that's the very thing that it's there for. That emergency fund is there that if you do lose your job, if your income does go away, it's going to be that gap, that bridge money that covers the gap that you may have while you don't have income coming in.
But I think that what Bo was alluding to, and I think this is an important thing, is when you hit these moments, I'm going to count on you to lean on your emergency reserves, but then I want you to now take a kind of an inventory of where you are, not only financially, but also emotionally, and where you kind of want to see yourself 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Because like I said earlier, is that good can grow from bad. Maybe this is the time where you reevaluate, am I living in the right part of the country? Am I, are my skills reflecting what I want to do for the rest of life? Look at this as an opportunity to figure out what the next thing and how you come out of this, the other side, bigger, better, stronger, and a better version of yourself financially.
I think just in terms of pure blocking and tackling, and this may seem like common sense, I think one of the things you have to do whenever you go through an unemployment situation is you do have to very clearly define the difference in needs and wants.
Yes.
What are the things that I absolutely need to be spending money on, and what are the things that I can cut out, at least for this season? Because far too often what we'll see happen is someone will lose their job or their employment circumstance will change, and they'll say, yeah, but I don't want to change the lifestyle too much. I want to keep doing it. I want to keep living the same lifestyle that I was living. I think if you're going to navigate this well, you have to be careful of that mentality, because what happens if it takes you longer to find a job than you thought? Or what happens if the new job that you find is not at the same compensation level that you were at? The more lean you can be through this season, the better you're going to set yourself up to be able to get into that next opportunity and ultimately get back on track in the financial order of operations.
And on that line, I would encourage you to cut without mercy. What I mean by that is when we talk about the hedonic treadmill and how you should spread out good things that happen in your life to kind of draw in the happiness so you can spread it out, enjoy it emotionally. Bad news and bad things, you should pile those up and have as many of those happen at once, because we have a tendency as humans is that we process and we return to our base level of happiness pretty quickly. So don't spread out negative events. So if you have lost your job, don't try to, console yourself by saying, well, I'll just cut things slowly over time and see if maybe I recover really quick and get a new job. No, assume the worst. Cut without mercy. right now. You just got horrible news. Let's go ahead and get you as lean as possible so you have maximum flexibility, because you know what? If this takes longer, maybe it takes 7 months to get your job and you only have that 6 months of cash reserves, you're going to be so happy that you made the sacrifice on the front end, because it's going to keep you from having to make those desperate decisions later. Whereas if you draw this out and then it goes, well, maybe this is just a setback. I won't change my life because I know I'll get this figured out. Because a lot of times you get severance packages and other things. Use those moments, cut without mercy, and then try to put yourself in as stable as a position with as small as a footprint as possible so that you can handle whatever. And then the good news is if you get a job faster than anticipated, you just have excess. And then you can use that to build even more wealth.
Yeah, and I would say the other thing is as you are as you're thinking through the resources available to you, don't forget there are things out there. Like you can go file for unemployment.
Yeah.
You need to understand what happens with your health insurance and those types of things. But be careful of making very emotional, very rash decisions, such as, okay, I just lost my job. I need to come up with money. Okay, now I can access my 401k. I'm going to go ahead and cash out my 401k. So I've got the money in the bank. That may be a little bit too emotional of a response. And what you're going to recognize is that you came up with a very permanent solution for what hopefully is a very short-term problem. So be careful of making those types of decisions, even though you're walking through this uncertain time.